My name is Tom Sollosi. I'm from New Eagle, Pennsylvania. I originally grew up in El Rama, PA, and I'm 95 years old, and I'm a World War II veteran.
Growing up in El Rama, where did you go to school at?
I went from first to eighth grade in El Rama. Then I went to Conley Vocational High School in Pittsburgh for 4 years. I took up 3 years of electric power and 1 year as a machinist.
Okay.
And I graduated.
Okay. So your parents were both immigrants from Hungary. What did they think when you told them you were going to sign up to go to war?
I told them I'm going to be drafted as soon as I'm 18, and I'd like to go and join the Navy so I could get my preference of this branch of service. I'm going to have to go and serve.
So you were only 17 when you signed up. Did you have to get permission at that time?
Yeah.
They had to...
I asked them, and it was okay with them.
Okay. So you did sign up for the Navy. And do you know many others from your area that also signed up?
Well, when I'm getting ready to go, there was a friend of mine who went through grade school with me. His name was Jack Perry. And we both went down to Pittsburgh and we joined the Navy.
So once in the Navy, did you request special duty and why?
Yes. I requested I'd like to join the submarine corps. I was little and I figured I could fit in with the submarine outfit, and I used to read magazines. Right before I joined, the Japs blew up Pearl Harbor, and I made up my mind I'd like to get in and do my part to serve in the service.
So, did you fully expect to get submarines?
Well, they must have checked my records and what all I did, and they said, I'm going to be in the submarines. So when we graduated from boot camp in Great Lakes, Illinois, I turned 18 at Great Lakes, Illinois, while I was in there, and then they said I was accepted into the submarine corps, and they took me out of there was 100 boys in our graduation from boot camp, and I was the only one they took out and put me in with a bunch of others. It's been one out of every so many graduation classes volunteered, because you had to volunteer for submarine, and they put me in with them, and then we were just waiting for more till they got enough to send us to submarine school, and in the meantime, the boys upstairs, there's 100 boys upstairs from West Virginia, and one boy volunteered for submarine, and they put him with us. And we're waiting for more graduation classes. And in the meantime, some kind of a draft showed up at the boot camp, and they said they wanted 100 men right now. And so the chief petty officer in Great Lakes gathered, I think there was around 32 of us submarine volunteers, and other classes going to machine schools and other stuff, and they gathered 100 men up and sent us to Norfolk, Virginia, and they put us in the amphibious force. And that's how I got from my submarine. I only lasted as a volunteer and was put into the amphibious force.
So amphibious force could have been anything, but at the time you found out that they were...
We didn't know.
You didn't know anything.
I didn't know what's, but later on, I said they should have went to jail and got the people out of jail to go in amphibious force instead of taking us out of what we wanted.
Yeah.
That's how I felt.
So you got the learn how to run landing craft. Is that what I understand?
They put us on a small landing craft, and it was hold 35 troops, and it had a small gasoline engine. That was our first training vessel. And then they sent us down to Florida, Fort Pierce, Florida, for bigger craft training, and they put us in with the LCMs. They would hold 50 troops or a tank, and they made us 5-man crews, and that's where we trained for the invasion at Florida.
So did you know it was for the invasion?
Yes.
You knew that training was for that?
I figured we were told we're getting ready for the invasion.
Okay, so at some point you went overseas to train.
While we was training, they put on a display for the high-ranking Army officers, and we all went out on our boats, and the troops would climb down the ropes into our boats, would circle around and make a wave, and we got the signal to hit the beach. We went in, and these Army officers liked what they seen, and they said, they want 100 men sent to England, and they're going to assign us to our next duty.
Okay, so what was Operation Tagger? Can you tell me something?
While we got sent overseas to England, we got sent to Dartmouth College, where they told us to take off all our Navy clothes, pack them in our sea bags, and put them, they're going to be stored. They give us a rifle, helmet, Army clothes, and they said, now we're going to be under the command of the Army, and us 100 men, they made 5-man crews and made 20, they had 20 landing craft. They assigned each one of our crews a brand new landing craft, and now we're in Army clothes assigned to the Army.
And on that landing craft, you were with someone you got to know?
While we were training, I run into Joe Session from Elizabeth. He lived a couple miles from me, and we asked the officers to try to keep us together, and me and Joe got to be on the same crew all the way through our mission in Europe.
So you were starting to tell me about Operation Tagger.
Well, after we got all straightened up, they said we're going to start north, and they said we're our first trip is we're going up to Weymouth, England. So we left Dartmouth and went up to Weymouth. It was an army camp, and we arrived at Weymouth, and they tied our boats up to the wharf, put us in with the soldiers, and we ate, slept with the army. We was in the army, and when we'd go outside walking around, we'd go to past the officers, and we wouldn't salute them because we were sort of mad that they took us out of the Navy and put us in the Army. So they called us in and they said, "You're saluting the uniform to do right. At least salute your Army officers when you pass by." So we agreed. We accepted that, and then we stayed there at Weymouth for so long. And they said, "Now we're going to get ready to move toward Plymouth." Plymouth is the shortest distance from England to France, and we're heading for Plymouth. And on our way up to Plymouth, we run into bodies floating all over the English Channel. We thought it was 90-some, but the final count was 75 or 79. These bodies were floating in the English Channel, being held up with those inflated lifeguard savers, and they were fully packed, had their backpacks on. They were going to practice for the Idaho beach invasion, and the Germans snuck in and sunk his LST, and there were no lifeboats or nothing on that LST, so they just all died in the cold water. And when we come along, here all them bodies lay floating in the water. We dropped our ramps level with the water and started to pull bodies on, take them into shore so they could be buried. And the first body me and my buddy was pulling on, we didn't expect it to be so heavy. They were water soaked and their backpacks on. They weighed at least 400 or 500 pounds, and the boat, our flat bottom boat, a wave coming, lifted our boat up and slapped it down, and we lost our grip on this first soldier we tried to pull in on our landing craft, and we lost our grip and he went down to the bottom of the English Channel. I felt bad about losing him. But after that, we kept picking them all up, and we was braced better for a heavy body that we're pulling. And so there's 20 landing craft picking up 750 bodies to take them into shore to be buried. And after we were done, they told us to go north toward Plymouth.
But those bodies were in the water from a training exercise. They were planning on hitting Utah Beach, is that?
Yeah, they were Utah Beach.
That was the training for that exercise.
For that exercise, yeah.
So
Yes.
your mission, you were training for, did you know where?
Nobody told us. That was more or less secret. Nobody knew what our mission really was.
So what was it in the end?
It was D-Day. Let's see. One night while we're all sleeping in Plymouth, they woke us up and they said, we're gonna invade Omaha Beach. They woke us up and told us to go to our landing craft. So we went to our landing craft and they stopped us and they said, it's canceled because the water's too rough and these soldiers being in our landing craft to be seasick from too much vibration. They said, go back to bed. And they said, the invasion is canceled for today. Then we went back, went to sleep, woke up next day, and everything was just talked about. And next night, they woke us up again, and now they said the weather is better, and we're going tonight. So we went to our landing craft, and when we got to our landing craft, some had soldiers, some had different 20 landing craft, had all different stuff. Ours had, we was loaded with tubes of dynamite to wrap around the obstacles on Omaha Beach so the larger landing craft could come in. And we didn't know what was going to happen till we got on our boat. And once we got started, and they give us an English pilot with some kind of a PT boat or speedboat, and he guided us toward Omaha Beach, and they pulled us aside and says, it's not safe for us to go in. Let them, everybody go in. And then first, second, third waves went in. And when we got the signal to go in when it was safe, so we could unload our dynamite project, we hit the beach. Nobody there to take our tubes of dynamite. So we started to do it ourselves. And everyone grabbed one and brought it up out of the boat up against the hillside where the troops had to go up. And they cut a big hole in the middle of the hillside and put a barbed wire in where the soldiers would have to go over that. And if you pulled on the barbed wire, there was explosives hooked onto them, and they made it difficult. I always wondered, why didn't battleships fire into that hillside with them big shells and blow up and make it easy for them soldiers to go up over the hillside? That was just one of my observations. And we just unloaded our boat, went back out for other duties until night come. And they called us, what's left of us, together, and they said, we're not ready to take care of you for a night. We wasn't prepared for taking care of you guys. So they said they got a hold of the ships out on that was docked out on the English Channel, and they told them that they're sending these crews out for them to feed us and give us a bed. So we went out and we tied alongside this one landing craft, or it was one of them LCIs, and they welcomed us aboard, and they fed us, let us take a shower, give us a bed, and during the night, we got an air raid siren, that D-Day night. And so we all went up on deck. All the lights were out, all the ship's lights was out, everything was dark. They was waiting for German planes. So in the meantime, the skipper on this boat said, there's a landing craft broke loose. And he said they cost a lot of money for us to go and get it. He picked on our crew. So we got on the landing craft, went out to get that landing craft that broke loose, and we had 2 diesel engines on propelling our landing craft, and the English Channel, when you stir it up, has a lot of phosphorus and everything is blue. And so this one German plane is all showed up. He was looking for dropping a bomb, and he must have spotted us going after this landing craft, and he dropped a bomb, and you could hear it coming down. And I'm out on the front end of our landing craft to tie onto this boat that was broke loose, and here this bomb hit. If we was about a big long ship, it would have hit the front of us. It didn't go off. If it would have went off, it would have blew us to pieces. It just hit the water and maybe still at the bottom of the English Channel, as far as I know. But it didn't go off, and so we went back to our boat. Oh, then everybody started to shoot at that plane. And you could see the tracer bolts, they couldn't reach it. It would go up so far and start down, and that plane got away, but there was no damage done. And we went back to our boat and told that skipper. He dropped that bomb meant for us, because he seen that blue water splashing behind us. And me and Joe, when we talked about our experiences, we said that was the dumbest thing, he said, of our experience, to have us go after, there was no bottom in that boat. When they hit the beach, the bottom got blown out, and it wouldn't sink because they had pontoon sides, and they held it up. That's how it got loose, and nobody wanted it. And I said, and me and Joe said, to save money, they risked our lives to save a disabled landing craft. That's one of the first things Joe ever talked about when we always talked about our experiences.
So when you were, you were there, the D-Day invasion, would you describe it that night as scary, exciting, anxious?
The next day, after we got up and got breakfast, and we went into shore, and the officer says, we got equipment for you, you're going to sleep on the beach. So they give us all a pup tent, would hold 2 people. They give us 2, what do you call when you carry?
Stretcher?
2 stretchers. They give us 2 stretchers. And they said, we're going to assign you an army cook. They're going to put up a little tent for him and stove, and we're going to eat up on the beach, and we're going to sleep on the beach. And I'll tell you how long we was on that beach. Me and Joe pitched our pup tent, and we put the 2 stretchers in, and that's where we slept. And we went to for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We ate we had our own canteens to eat out of. We'd wash them and get fed, and they'd send us back for supplies, give us an army truck once a week to get supplies for the cook. He'd write down what he wanted, and we'd go back and get the supplies. And one time we went back, I said, I'm going to get a carton of peaches. There was 2 gallon cans in each carton, and 2-gallon cans of fruit cocktail. So every time I went to eat at the chow line, I didn't get no fruit cocktail. We had a gallon can open. That's how we got rid of our stuff. And so I turned 18 on Omaha Beach, July 16. We hit the beach June 6, 1944. I was still on the beach July 16, 1944. And finally, the Army said they're done with us. And they said, we don't need you. We used to take the wounded out to the hospital ship. We did all kind of taking people out to ships, bringing them in. They kept us busy doing stuff. They said they don't need us anymore. And they got us, took us to the airport and put us on a transport plane and flew us to England. And they was taking us to some kind of a rest camp where the rich people from England went, Isle Capri or something. And when we started to land in England, this pilot must have been practicing, because he didn't know how to land that plane. And we come in for a landing, and he hit the ground hard and bounced up and down, knocked us around, and he couldn't land, and he took off again and went up around. And the second trip, he finally got us landed. And so they give us a nice room to sleep in on this rest camp place where we're going to stay. And while we're there, they gathered us together, and they said, we need 2 crews to go back over, we're in England now, back over to Europe. And nobody wanted to go back over. Nobody wanted us to go back over. So they said, well, we're going to draw straws. And they drew straws, and they picked 2 crews. And so this one guy on the crew that was picked said, he started to cry. He said, I don't want to go back over. He said, I got a wife and little baby back home. And he says, I don't want to go back over. So I felt sorry for him, and I said, well, I'll take his place. Joe says, if he goes, I'll take the other guys. He didn't want to go. So they said, anybody else? So we got 10 men, 2 crews. That's all they wanted. They said, okay, go back to your room, get your toothbrushes and shaving stuff, put it in your army bag. We're still in army clothes. And they're waiting for you down at the beach. So we went down. They had 2 brand new landing craft loaded with fuel, diesel fuel. And this was they give us they give us this brand new boat, and they says, there's a boat out there waiting on you. There's a ship out there waiting on you. So we went out, 5 men in one boat, 5 in the other, 2 crews. We went out, and they had English built some kind of a landing boat that opened up, and they left the water in. We went out. They told us to go in that boat. They shut the door, pumped the water out, took us over to Europe. When they opened up the door, we're in Antwerp, Belgium. They says, they're waiting on you up on shore. So we went out, and they directed us to go up this creek. They said it's a river. They dredged it. We got creeks like that back home. We call them creeks, they call them rivers. We went up there so far, and they stopped us. They took care of our boats. They said, go up, you're going to be stationed at the Belgian barracks. And so we went up, and they give us a room, and there was about 4,000 soldiers in this Belgian barracks. It's like a football field with a 2-story brick building built around, and we were stationed there, and we'd go to movies at night, and we ate with the soldiers. We were all dressed alike. I could understand why they put us in army clothes, all this togetherness. So one night we come out of the movies, and the Germans were sending buzz bombs over. There'd be a bomb with a motor hooked on, and they couldn't shoot them down, or bullets wouldn't reach. And this buzz bomb's coming, and it just looked like it's coming toward us. And all I could hear was our footsteps shuffling the floor. Everybody's running for cover, and this buzz bomb sort of drifted off to the left of us and landed alongside the building and blew out the windows on that side. That's how close them Germans knew how much gas to put in one of them buzz bombs to run out of gas to drop. They'd have killed 4,000 troops if that thing would have hit a little further right. Anyway, another buzz bomb come over, and it landed in a freight yard. There was a railroad freight yard, and it blew up a bunch of boxcars, and somebody, and right around that time, they was giving us, us 10 men, fire weather gear. It's going to be cold, and we're going to start heading north. They give us all a size 46 jacket, and I only weighed about 135, 40 pounds back then, and that's what we was given. And so we got word that a buzz bomb hit in that freight yard, and there was a boxcar full of delicious apples. So me and my buddy said, well, we're going to make use of these jackets. So there's a tie on the bottom, and we tied them together, and made it. And we went over there. It was about a half a mile from where we was at. And we climbed, there was little box cars. We climbed up. There it was full of apples with paper coverings on them. And I loaded up my jacket, and he loaded up his. We went back and gave everybody an apple. That was one of our experiences with buzz bombs. And then, after we was there for a few more days, they said, we're going to start heading north. And so the army got together, and they started to go through all these German towns. And we went down to our boat, and we went up the river. We kept going up the river until we come to a point where we couldn't go no further with the army. So they got 2 tractor trailers and a big long trailer, and they backed it down in the water, and we got on. They strapped our landing craft on, and they pulled us up out of the river, and we were going with the army to, I remember these towns, Aachen, Germany, and all these different towns. They was knocking houses over to get us on these little roads, and these tractor trailers were armor pierced with, so in case the Germans come over strafing, they were hauling our landing craft, and we're the rear end of the army going toward the Rhine River. And on the way, the Germans made their last stand, which they called the Belgian Bulge. And they killed some of our soldiers and took their uniforms off. And one night, an officer come back and he give us hot coffee and he give us 2 army blankets and 2 cots. They had wooden legs and they had canvas. They opened up and they give us 2 army blankets and a cot to sleep on. And he said, watch out for some of these German soldiers might be wearing American uniforms for us to be on lookout. They're going to try to burn our craft up. So that was our job until the Belgian Bulge got stopped, the Germans' last stand. Then we went on to the Rhine River, and then we got to the Rhine River, and these tractor trailers backed us into the river. They unstrapped us, and we had 2 diesel engines. We had one we got started, the other was hard starting, and I was down in the engine room, was priming and trying to get the engine started, and we finally got it going, and we come up to start taking. There was no bridge at this point, but they had the engineering outfit alongside with pontoons they were putting together to make a bridge. And all of a sudden, the Germans started to shoot at us with them 88 weapons, and everybody run for cover. So I run. There was a bunch of foxholes. Everybody was filling up the foxholes. The only place I seemed to go was lay alongside this bulldozer. So I'm laying alongside, the operator was underneath, and one of the shells burst and hit up against if I was standing, I'd have got my head blown off. But anyway, they kept shooting, and then all of a sudden, I felt something hot hit me in the hip, and I told the operator, I said, I got hit with that shrapnel. So he called the medics. They come down with a little ambulance, and they put me on a stretcher, took me a couple miles somewhere and to this long tent where there was full of injured, a lot of wounded, and doctors and nurses. And then they put me on a table, and one young fella had his arm blowed off, and they were clamping it up. They were removing his arm, and on the other side, this soldier stepped on a mine, and he had all the meat blowed off his leg, and it was turning black, and they had scissors cutting all that dead meat off and sprinkling sulfur powder on. We didn't have penicillin yet. And he come to me, and I said, I don't feel too bad. I said, comparing to these guys alongside me. So he checked me out, and he says, we're going to remove that shrapnel out of your hip. So they deadened me, and he worked on me, and he reached in and pulled that shrapnel out, or whatever he done, and they patched us up, put us on a plane, and sent us to Paris, 33rd General Hospital outside of Paris, where we went in to recover. And that was around Easter. And the nurses hid a golden egg, and after we were recovered for a while, that's later on, they told us to go out and get exercise and look for that golden egg. And I'm the one that found the golden egg. I had my cane, and this little tree where the rain made little gullies along the ground, and the leaves, they put that golden egg in that little gully, covered up with leaves. I got my cane and I took it off, and there it was. I got a big basket of candy. They brought it to my room, and everybody got a piece of candy. The nurses found out that that's where the candy. I didn't even get any. So that was my story about. And then after recovered, after the ones that was able to go back to wherever they were going, they sent me back. They said, there's a Navy headquarters. Oh, they were passing out Purple Hearts and stuff. They said, oh, we ain't gonna give you your Purple Heart. They'll give it to you. They'll stand you up before everybody and present it to you. And I felt bad. I said, I was with these Army guys. I want to be treated like them. They said, here's the papers. You give it to wherever you go, and they'll do what they're going to do. So they sent a Navy guy with one of the latest cars that they made, and I think it was a Buick. And he come to pick me up to Navy headquarters. There's only a couple of officers, and they says, well, we're gonna keep you here for a while, and you'll get your rations. You'll get 6 packs of cigarettes a week, and you'll be able to eat here and sleep. And so they said, I'm going to write you out a pass to go out and have a good time, just to see the city. And so wrote me out a pass, and I got to ride the subway free, and I got to learn. They told me where to get off on the cities. Every stop had a name of a city or a town or whatever, and they told me what, and it was like a USO. They said that you get off there and go down the street, the other end of that street, and they have a USO. They got a jukebox playing war songs and have coffee and donuts. So I went down. I kept going down. One day, the MP stopped me and they said, let me see your pass. I showed him my pass. They says, that's a Navy pass and you're in Army clothes. They said, that don't look right. They took me down in this dungeon and put me in this cell, and this officer in charge called up Navy headquarters, and they said, we got a guy here with a Navy pass and Army clothes. And they said, oh, we just give him that pass to have a good time. He's okay. Fix it up that he won't be stopped no more. So that went on. I got to be free, and I met a young woman. Her name was Dee LaCour. Her dad was a heart specialist, and she taught kindergarten in Paris. So she was able to talk English, and we started to talk, and she sort of liked me, and she brought a book with French words and English words, trying to teach me French. And we started to go to, I didn't have no money. So one day I went out on the street, and there was these hucksters buying cigarettes. I sold them my cigarettes because I didn't smoke. I had 2 $5 bills in my wallet that I carried through the war. I think they were silver certificates. And I sold them for francs. I don't know how much they give me. I think they said around $25 for a 5. So I had money to take my girlfriend to a restaurant. And so one day I'm in town, and they stopped me, and they said, the MP stopped me, they says, you're your pass is wearing out. We can't hardly read it. They says, go back and get another one. So I went back to get another pass. And they said, oh, we forgot. I was there almost a month. And they said, we forgot about you. Tomorrow morning, there's going to be a plane take you to England. So when I was in town, I told my girlfriend, I'm leaving in the morning. And oh, she felt bad. So when she went to class the next morning, she was crying, and her little, she called them babies, were all crying because I'm leaving. And she wrote me a letter, and while I was in England, and I got it. And she told me about her crying. And I saved that letter. We had it. It might be home somewhere. I wanted to save it for a stamp. They had, in wartime, memories, you know. But anyway, they sent me to England. Oh, they put me on this Piper Club plane, landed into England. Then they said, they don't know what they're going to do with me. I'm in Army clothes. My clothes are in Dartmouth College. They said, hold on, we're going to call the Rhine River. So they had hookups to Rhine River. They says, we got them 9 men that are loading up, and we're coming right to where you're at. Their destination to land in England where I'm at. So the next day they landed, and I got to meet my 9 buddies that we started out with. Joe had my sea bag, he had my rifle, he had my helmet. I didn't like to wear my helmet. Twice I got stuck without the helmet. Once when I got wounded, I only had my liner on, then the helmet fits on. And the other time was when they were shooting at us on the Rhine River. My helmet was still, but my rifle and my helmet was hanging on the side of a landing craft. Anyway, they put us all 9, they put us on a train, took us to Dartmouth, England. We got our Navy clothes back. We threw our Army clothes away, and I took my rifle and put it in my I took it apart and put it in my sea bag and brought it home, and I got all my shaving stuff and toothbrush and everything that I had, my personal equipment. They sent us back to England. They gave me a 30-day pass, told me to report to Philadelphia Navy Yards after my 30 days. So I went home. Me and Joe pitched in, and we got a taxi from Pittsburgh. One took him to Elizabeth, and one took me to El Rema. And let's see. And so I was home, and every day I'd go somewhere, either down Elizabeth, McKeesport, or I get out going up Mon City mostly. So one day I went up to Mon City, and I got off the bus, and I got off the bus, and there was this buddy of mine went to school with. His name was Wendell McCormick. They called him Wink McCormick. And he wanted to hear some of my war stories. He had a heart problem. He was deferred, and he wanted to hear some of. So we're walking along at 2nd Street by Durkin's drugstore. And here comes my wife and her girlfriend. They're walking from their home into town. And and Wink knew this one girl, and he started to talk, and me and Ruth started to talk. We turned around, and we went, all four of us went and got a Coke and was sitting talking, and I asked her if I could walk her home. That was in 1944, June.
So that's when you met your future wife. Or
June 1944.
That's her picture right there?
Yeah. That was, and we lived together for 75 years, married.
Still
Living.
Yeah.
And that's how we met. And that's about all I could.
So when you went back,
you
were on leave at that time.
Yeah. Then I went back to Philadelphia, and they give me a job, the submarine barracks in Philadelphia. I'm in charge of that barracks. They said they're going to send me men down, take care of the chow line. I placed them where I needed them, and sweep up all the floors, and I give them all jobs. And one day, my name showed up on the draft. Oh, I took good care of these guys. The ones that stayed writing letters to their girlfriends, I'd get stuff out of I had all the keys to the building, and I'd get them ice cream squares or apple or orange, whatever we had, and I'd give it to them because they did a good job making me look good, keeping that building clean, and I tried to treat them good. And one day, this boy comes up to me and he says, him and his girlfriend got in an argument, and he'd like to go back. I used to give him a pass to go in town. And he says, I said, where do you live? He says, Chicago, Illinois. I says, oh, I can't. He's a new guy. And I always had him for 10 days and all, while their ships getting repaired, painted, supplied. I says, okay, I'll write you out a pass, but I want your phone number, and I want to get a hold of you in case your name shows up on the draft. So he took off. I had his phone number. The next day, his name comes up on the draft. I called his mother. She said, he's laying here sleeping. I said, tell him to get on the next train and get back to Philadelphia. His ship's ready. And I said, I could take care of him for a couple days, but he's got to get back here. I'm going to get in trouble. So he caught the next train back, and he come back the next day. That was a long trip. It was 12 hours from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia. And anyway, I got out of that mess. I got in another mess. There was a boy from Mon City. He's absent. His name was Scotty Armstrong. And he always liked to fight. And he got in fight in Philadelphia, and they put him in jail. And so he wasn't there to be present. And I didn't want to get him in trouble, so I never put him absent, or I never called the office. And I found out the next day he's in jail. They know all about him. So I didn't turn him in that he was absent. So I try to protect the guys So one day, my name comes up on the draft that I'm watching, and I called up the main office. I said, this was July, I'm going to be 21. I was signed up from 17 to 21. And this was in June. They called me in. They says, are you going to sign over? we'll give you another stripe if you sign over. I was third class, they'll make me second class. I says, no, I don't want to sign up. They says, anyway, we're going to replace you then. So they sent a chief petty officer. He had 3 stripes down, 3 stripes up, and a bunch of he's been in for about 20 years, 30 years, taking my place. And I told him what all my job was and gave him the keys. And they sent me to Bainbridge, Maryland to get my discharge. I got an honorable discharge and come home for good. And that's my story.
So there's a couple things there on the table. You ended up later on in life getting your Purple Heart.
Yeah, I got my purple. You want to show it?
Yeah, hold it up.
I got my Purple Heart, and during the shooting on the Rhine River, I had my Bible in my back pocket, and I was bleeding. There were some blood stains from when I was bleeding.
Mm-hmm.
It's a couple things that. And what's this?
It was in there. I don't know if it's.
This is a World War II
Is it like a commemorative coin?
commemorative coin.
Okay. Sarah's gonna help you show your uniforms now.
Oh, okay.
What's the difference?
Summer uniforms was white. This is my original summer uniform top, and here's the bottoms. These are my original I brought home.
Turn that around. And you said you wore a.
I was third class petty officer, 1 stripe.
Okay.
These are my blues. These are my bottoms. And look, there's holes in it. They're getting old. Neckerchiefs that we wore with our uniform.
Does that say something?
Yeah, put them right here.
Does that say something?
J.A. Holick. I must have got somebody else's. This is my top.
This is different bottoms. Okay.
And the hat.
The
Get
hat's
the
in
hat. Blues. This is my hat that I wore with the blues, and the navy hat, white. It's in that down there.
How about that?
My original uniforms. They're
What's this piece?
that's for the shipmates.
Oh, so later on.
Yeah, I joined the shipmates, and they give us different uniforms.
How old were you when you did that?
I was pretty old. I didn't join the shipmates till I was still able to march and everything. I was
You may be 80?
15. Yeah, I was 80 years old.
That's
Around 85, shipmates. But, yeah, these clothes are old.
Yeah. So, just a couple follow-ups. Like, what do you feel like you were part of something important? You were just doing your part?
I just felt like I did what I was told. I was part of the, I volunteered, and so I had what's coming to me. So I accepted it.
Whatever they told you to do.
Whatever they told me to do, I did. But I learned not to volunteer no more. Twice. I volunteered for submarine duty and got amphibious force. I volunteered to go back over and got wounded. I didn't have to go, but I did. So I don't volunteer no more.
So if you don't mind me asking, having been in a horrific war, however necessary we might decide it was, what's your opinion of war?
I don't like war. My opinion is too many people die that shouldn't die. And yeah, well, there's times when you gotta do what you gotta do, but there is a reason for everything. So whenever it happens, there's a reason for everything. And so I believe in that because I was spared several times. That bomb not going off when D-Day night, there was never mentioned that there was an air raid on D-Day night. And I just brought it up to let you know that something happened that I was a part of.
So what was your opinion based on your experiences with the VA for healthcare?
VA is excellent. I give them the top number, A or 10 or perfect. They really help us for our needs.
And you didn't use the VA for a lot of years.
Earlier in my time, they did some dental work for me, but then I quit going until later when I got on medicines and stuff. And I go once a year for a medical exam, and they're really nice people. They're good people, and I give them a top award.
So how do you feel about doing this interview during a pandemic?
Well, I'm told the World War II stories, there's a lot was never told, and we're all dying off. So I figure, well, if I have something interesting somebody wants to listen to, okay, I'll share it. So it's my job to do what the people want. It's okay by me. That's my story. Everybody got a story. That's mine.
Is there anything else you'd like to add or say right now?
I'm just thankful for still being alive, and I'm thankful for all my family, and I'm thankful for being an American citizen and the right to vote, and I'm thankful for our democracy. That's what we fought for, and so I put in my 2 cents worth, and I'm proud of it.
Well, I want to thank you for your courage at 17, and thank you for doing this interview.
Thank you for interviewing me, and that was a pleasure doing it.